Hey guys, this is Dave, and we're here with another NBA Finals prediction. It's been quite a long time since I've done a video, so quickly I'm going to explain where I've been. I was finishing up college for my bachelor's. If you haven't watched my Twitch stream or any of the Twitch streams in general lately, I've had a couple. And also, my Twitch name is not the same as my YouTube name. But anyways, after that, I tried streaming or recording Dead by Daylight and a couple other games. And this computer, this laptop that I'm using right now to record the video, just doesn't seem that good in terms of recording. And I tried the Windows 7 computer, which I knew was a long shot, but that also was not working, so that's part of it. And I also don't want to go back to like older games and do playthroughs of that, because I feel like a lot of people really wouldn't want to see that. So until I get a better computer and some new games come out, something like that, then I probably will only be making sports videos for now, because the computers I'm looking at to get, not the whole computer, not the whole setup, just the tower. I should have clarified that. I'm looking at about $600 to $800 just for that, so it's going to be a lot of money. I'm going to have to work a lot at my job, which will also give me less time to make videos anyway, so kind of makes sense. So now that I got that out of the way, let's put it out there. I think the Cavs are going to lose in a gentleman's sweep in 5 games at worst. At best, absolute best case scenario where everything is going right for them and everything is going wrong for the Warriors, I can possibly see them winning in 7, but that'd be a very huge long shot. So I'm going to go with my first prediction as my my overall prediction for the series, and say that the Cavs lose in 5 games, and here's why. Okay, so over the course of the regular season, in wins, the Cavs are averaging 108.7 points per game, and they're shooting about 48% in their wins this season. Oh no, in the playoffs, okay. So that was the playoff numbers. Sorry about that. In the losses, they're only scoring 86.2 points a game, which is very low for an NBA level team. And they're also taking 6 less shots in losses. And they're also shooting them at a worse clip at 41.4%. Now, since they're on the road, we can look at the road numbers. On the road, they're about in between where their wins and losses numbers are. They're scoring about 96.6 points per game, which is not that bad overall, all things considered. They're taking about 35.9 shots, so rounding that up, 36 shots per game. And they're shooting at about 44.5% for the team, which, although it's not awful, it's just kind of it's just average. That's around the league average, I'm pretty sure. Now, in terms of actual matchups that will be important, in my opinion. For the Cavs to win the series, LeBron's going to have to completely lock down Kevin Durant. Almost said Kevin Love. But he would have to completely lock down Kevin Durant and make him take really hard shots. And although KD is a really excellent shooter and he could still make some of them, if you force him to take mainly tough shots, he'll shoot at a worse percentage overall regardless, and he'll also have less points per game through however many games the series ends up going. So that's the key for LeBron. On the defensive end, obviously, since he's their best offensive player, he would also have to score a shitload of points and have a ton of activity on the offensive ends. I'd say about 36 to 40 points per game, probably about 10 rebounds and 10 assists to have any chance of winning any game. You'd have to have that every single game, game in, game out, which I think he can do in game one tonight. And another notable matchup, I wouldn't say he's the X factor, but it's really important, especially against the Warriors. I was thinking about this on my way back from work. One of the ways that the Cavs did so well in, I believe it was 2015, was they were able to actually, let's check that. Okay, so in 2016, I meant to say. Sorry about that. So in 2016, Tristan Thompson was low-key a big part of it because him and Timothy Mozgov were very physical on the defensive ends, and they made it really hard for the bigs to make shots. And generally, they just made it tougher on the offense. Not all the time, but enough to get in their heads a bit and force some misses. And Tristan Thompson that year also was fairly good at rebounding the basketball. He usually would have about 10 rebounds a game, and he'd have about, I want to say 14, 15 points a game. So he was good in that finals. If he can replicate that against Draymond Green while also shutting him down, which would be very hard to do, then that would also be a big key to that. And one of the other big keys, I would think, would be just the Cleveland bench and just the rest of the players outside of LeBron in general. Everyone knows that this is probably the worst team that LeBron James has had overall since he's been back to Cleveland's. A lot of people were even comparing this Cavs team this year to the 07 team that got swept in 4 games by the Spurs. I don't know if I'd go that far, but they really have not played well together as a unit. They just don't seem to have that cohesiveness or that chemistry. They just, I don't know, they just don't seem to play well together. It kind of just seems like you just took the roster of somewhat good players. Like, outside of Cleveland, they are good players, some of them, like Rodney Hood, Larry Nance, they're fairly decent players. I just feel like the way they put the roster together 6 months earlier, it's almost like they just mushed it together and just kind of forced it to try and work. And it just hasn't. It's almost like, you're just hoping certain trades or free agent acquisitions work, and you're just praying it works rather than knowing that those players are going to work well together or have similar play styles or chemistry with each other. So because of that, the rest of the Cavs team, even though it is the worst since he's gotten back to Cleveland, they really need to step it the hell up defensively, offensively, and give as much as they can give in every major statistical category. We're talking points, rebounds, blocks, steals, whatever you can do. Even if you got to rough up some players on the defensive end, and if you got to win that way, and you got to be really, really tough on Golden State and bother them that way like they did in 2016, and force some hard fouls so that they might make the free throws, but it'll get in the Warriors' head. I know Steph Curry personally complained about that in 2016, and I believe Klay Thompson did as well. So if they can do that again and get the Warriors mad, but not in a way that's constructive for them, in a way that's destructive for them, so that they're mad enough to where they can't really make those quick decisions as easily because they're thinking about how pissed they are at the Cavs and the stuff that they were doing earlier in the game, that they won't be really in a rhythm and they won't really be as focused and locked in offensively or defensively, and they'll just be looking to get back at the Cavs rather than play cohesively and at the highest level that they need to, being that it is the NBA Finals and they are at home. The other thing that I need to point out is generally LeBron does not have a good game one. Like historically, he just uses it as the feel-out game where he just gets an idea of what your opponents are going to do. However, given the fact that LeBron has played against the Warriors this many years in the finals in a row, he has a very good idea of what they can do and how they're going to attack him defensively, what looks they're going to give him. And even though they have a lot of different defenders that can try to defend against LeBron, like Klay Thompson might get a couple minutes, Kevon Looney might get a couple minutes, whatever. Draymond, KD, whoever else, they're going to throw a couple different looks at him, but he generally knows what they're going to try to do to him. They're going to trap him most likely to make it harder for him to score and also kick it out to shooters on the wing. So as long as he's aware of that and he reacts quicker than they do, and he's just a step quicker than they can react, and he's proactive instead of reactive in his decision-making on the floor, on the offensive ends, as well as the defensive ends, I think he'll have a really, really solid game. The next big key that should be noted is Kevin Love went out with a concussion earlier in last series, and I read after work that he's now cleared out of the concussion protocol, but it's really up in the air what he's going to contribute to this Cavs team. No one really has any idea what to expect of him coming off that kind of injury. You know, he could end up having a big game, or they could have just possibly rushed him back. I don't know, how plausible that would be, but given that it's the finals, they might have potentially done that and just say, oh yeah, you're cleared. But, in actuality, they went against the NBA guidelines and he's actually not cleared, which in that case, he wouldn't have a good game. But so far, in the playoffs, he's averaging 10 rebounds a game. If he can do even just a little bit more than that, I want to say like 12 to 13 boards a game, that would be really key, because as good as Golden State is on the offensive ends, if you can completely out-rebound them by a huge margin, like we're talking, I don't know, say 56 rebounds to about 20 or 20 something, like the high 20s or the low 30s, that's a big margin in the rebounding category, which would give Cleveland more offensive opportunities if they're on the offensive end, obviously, offensive boards, which would be key for Tristan Thompson and Kevin Love to both get, as well as LeBron when he's in position, of course, as well as Larry Nance when he's on the floor. But also on the defensive end, because there are going to be stretches where the Warriors will not be able to make that many threes. Because as good as a team as they are, there's always the law of averages. Just like the Rockets in Game 7. They were having an excellent shooting night to start the game. They were taking awful shots and still making them. And then later in the game, in the fourth quarter, they missed 27 threes in a row. That's exactly what I'm talking about. The Warriors are good enough at shooting and three-point shooting, just shooting in general, where they can take awful shots and still probably make them against this Cavs defense. But when it gets to the fourth quarter and the intensity is ratcheted up, can they still make those same shots with a higher sense of urgency from the Cavs, being that it is the fourth quarter and they got to clamp down defensively, especially if it's a close game where it's only like a 5-point advantage for the Warriors. So those are my keys to tonight's game. If you like what you saw, like, comment, subscribe, whatever. I'm not going to pressure you into doing anything. I just like to see some activity from you guys, my subscribers. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll see you after game 1. Bye.